Hey folks, it's Sam, and we have some big news today with Mercury now moving direct. Mercury was retrograde for about 3.5 weeks. He stopped moving retrograde Monday the 7th, and now he's what's called stationary direct, which means the planet stops in the sky at that degree for a few days with Mercury. About close to a week, he hovers around the same degree here, about 2 to 3 degrees before he starts moving forward again. So it means at least that backward motion where we feel hesitant about what we say and all of that is stopped. So it stops going backwards. It's not really moving forward yet. It's going to start moving forward and rather quickly. So I'm going to be talking about those things. I'm going to be talking about that stationary direct motion, of course, Mercury, and what it means when it's forward direct. It's the sign of Pisces, and a few other things. Stick around, and we'll be talking about that today. I do want to let people know to please subscribe, get notified if you like this kind of content before you leave, and make sure to leave a favorable comment. Let me know if you like this, because it does really help to see that and for others. So we do have this, continuing pileup of planets here in Pisces. Pileup of planets in Pisces. Nice alliteration there, isn't it? And it's easy to get sort of overwhelmed. And when people ask, like when I do readings, well, what does it mean if I have all these planets there? Well, it just means that area of life is very magnified. So those Pisces themes are really big, but the planets are still individual, right? And so again, where Venus would be in its exalted place, Mercury is in the debilitated place, right? And Rahu is magnifying it all. And the sun is also there giving energy and focus, et cetera, et cetera. So they're all individuals, but they're all in one place. So you could think of it as individuals, like a bunch of individuals in one place. Right? Let's say there's the let's say that the planets are all people, like a god. You have Mercury is there, Venus is there, the sun is there, Rahu is there, Saturn is there. So they're all in one place. So they're in the same place. Usually they're in like one of 12 different places. But they're all still going to be who they are, their nature. Loud siren as soon as I start. But they're in that same environment. And some of them like the environment more than others. And so you could kind of see it that way, but they're all kind of in it together as well. So this is a sort of paradigm to kind of understand. And, Mercury in that area of life is going to be a little more confused than the others because, again, Mercury is about being correct, precise, trying to figure things out through intelligence, which implies variety and flexibility. You see, Mercury is the part that is flexible and open and trying to figure things out in a very neutral way. Like when we're experimenting and playing with something, like the way kids play, we're not really advocating for a position either way. So when Mercury is powerful, it's very unbiased and very neutral. Now, it doesn't mean we don't eventually arrive at a conclusion, but Mercury is less interested, for example, in like winning an argument over our ideas. Our ideas are there. Mercury doesn't want to win an argument or get anywhere with it. It just wants to figure the thing out and know what it is. What is this thing? Not, and now I need to convince you that this is the right thing. Again, that's a different energy, right? And we get these things very confused because they're quite similar, like ideas, thoughts, communication. It all sounds like one kind of big thing, but it's not. And there are different motivations, right? So the Mercury part of your nature is the part, again, that first just wants to understand what something is. And if we don't understand what something is, particularly when it comes to things like interpersonal relationships, which Mercury has a lot to do with because it's about our communication and what we communicate and our processing, our comprehension. That's a big word for Mercury that's not often used, or it's underused. How well do we comprehend what we just heard for example, I'm saying this stuff now. It's remarkable how I'll say 50, very clear and specific things, which is what Mercury is. And what gets comprehended many times is filtered through people's biases, beliefs, what they already think. How much do they comprehend what, not obviously just what I'm saying, but what you're saying? How much do people comprehend or listen, and listen clearly, right? Mercury, in fact, the retrograde function, which it was just going through, was a time of reflection and listening, and the internal process of Mercury, where instead of processing and externalizing through our own language and communication, which is the external quality of Mercury, once he starts moving forward again, then that external use of Mercury, not just to communicate, but to use our skills and the details and information that we've gathered, and then start to use it, that becomes more important. But in the retrograde cycle, it's actually more about reflecting, comprehending, analyzing, assessing what we think we already know. And so, again, comprehension of data and examination of our own, for example, especially our own mistakes and our own part in the story and all of that is very, a powerful Mercury will bring a lot of that to bear in our life. And again, the reason is because Mercury is not trying to be right. It's the part of you that's not trying to be right, trying to feel good, trying to win, trying to be happy. Mercury isn't that part of you. It's the part of you that, again, wants to understand and get it. And then once you understand and get it, then you can do something different. But if you never understand or get it, then you're never going to do anything differently. So first we have to understand things. And again, it's very important. It's very easy to think we understand something and think we get it and then do something based on that. And the thing we do doesn't work, or the thing that we do is wrong. Again, I can speak very subjectively about astrology. Again, Mercury is the capacity to take all those details and organize them. Again, we have to be willing to listen and to reflect and to change what we already think. Many times what happens, and I know when I have good students, it's because they're not in a hurry to get to some judgment, some decision, they get 5 pieces of information and think it's all they have to learn before they can start doing something. And so when that happens, they'll get the 5 pieces of information, they'll form a conclusion, they'll try to do something, and that thing doesn't work. So then they think you as the teacher were wrong. For example, this is when Mars interferes too much with Mercury. Well, I did what you said and it didn't work. So now I went and did this, and now I went and tried that, and none of it works. So you know what? Astrology doesn't really work. This kind of, yoga doesn't really work because, I studied it and blah, blah, and it didn't really work. Yeah, because you didn't really understand it. You didn't really comprehend what you were doing. So you can see, this is why, again, when Mercury's powerful, we realize that we don't know and that we need to gather more information. This is why many times with my best students, I have to encourage them to start using what they already know. Like I'll tell my best students, look, you've gathered enough information. Now you understand the parameters. Now you need to start applying it. And here's how you then need to focus and take all that information that you've gathered and channel it now into prioritizing the information. Because after a while, maybe Mercury's very active, but it's too sideways. So we eventually need to take the Mercury information and then focus it and then prioritize it. And that becomes another level of Mercury. So again, these things are very important with Mercury. And again, I'm talking about things like learning astrology, or yoga or something, and how it's sometimes we don't really learn and we don't know why, again, because we're confused. So again, Mercury has been in Pisces, and it's an area where we can be sort of confused about the story and not getting the story straight. And because Mercury's up here in Pisces, the story can be confused about a lot of things. Relationships, for example, a big one, because Mercury's been joined Venus back and forth for a while, and it's going to be joined Venus for another couple of weeks, and Venus is going to be in Pisces for another month and a half. And it's very close to Saturn. You can see in this chart as well, Venus and Saturn are within 1 degree of each other. So Venus in particular right now, this Venus energy is quite challenged as well. And a lot of our interpretations, a lot of the stories in our head with Mercury, which revolve around, why are my relationships this way? Why is my work this way? Why is the world this way? What can I do? A lot of those stories have been quite confusing. They're going to start getting more clear, at least our part in it, as Mercury moves forward. And I did just want to also let people know that I have this reading available. As you see, Devotion or Delusion, Venus in the Fog, Sacred Love, Spiritual Confusion. I just did this video here on YouTube. You can look for it, about the Venus cycle, the Venus transit that we're in right now. As you can see, Venus has been in Pisces now since the end of January. And as you see, it's very close to Mercury. So the Mercury retrograde, the kind of confusing story that's been going on in our head, a lot of it is joined with Venus, because Mercury and Venus have been tracking very close to each other for at least a month. And they're going to be close for at least, another few weeks with Mercury still in Pisces. So I am offering these readings. If you go to relationshipastrology.net, I'm doing these 30-minute assessments where I analyze your nature in relationships, because so often we look at our partners and when am I going to get this relationship? And again, it's a misunderstanding of the story. Again, it doesn't mean that we're not, that, the right partner doesn't, help us. But most of what we don't understand in relationships is our tendencies, meaning that you have a tendency that's already hardwired, aside from anyone that comes into your life. It's already hardwired. Now, it's evolved over your lifetime, but it's based on where your Venus is in your natal chart, what your 7th house ruler is, and where it is. So again, like if you're Leo, Saturn is your 7th house ruler. Venus is still the indicator of the agreements that you make. But Saturn then shows the type of relationships you look for and how you feel in them, etc. But then there's also planets in the 7th house. There's also the moon, which is your capacity to feel and what you're comfortable with. And again, Moon and Venus aren't necessarily, in fact, it's not only that they're not necessarily friendly, they're kind of antagonistic a little bit. So just understanding these things in general, and specifically about your nature, you can avail yourself of. It's deeply discounted now if you're interested in that. It's a limited time because a lot of people sign up for them. But anyway, this is part of the Mercury retrograde, is working through all of these stories, and Mercury especially is important in the relationship analysis, because Mercury and Venus really are the two most active interpersonal planets. Again, we can boil it down to, the things that really make relationships work is our, quote, communication, good communication. But what is good communication? Well, it's the things I just mentioned. First of all, you're interested in listening as well. You're interested in listening, and you're curious about what really happened here. You're not just trying to win the argument or defend what they did or whatever. All these kind of, again, winning and these adversarial interactions. You're just trying to communicate. And by the way, Mercury is also that energy of a friend. This is the way a friend acts. Mercury is like your best friend. Literally, the relationship you have with like your best friend is a Mercury type relationship. They'll listen to you. They're curious about you. They care about you. You have a good time with them. You laugh. It's fun. It's funny. You explore ideas together, interests together with your friends. You have the same interests. You like to just get together and talk and explore things and have fun. And you're not really motivated to get anything from them, to win anything over them, to be more powerful than them. You're not triggered by, if there is a little misunderstanding, you're more tolerant of it. Like you kind of let it go. You're flexible. All those things I talked about are real Mercury virtues. And when our relationships have those qualities, they've really flourished. My guru Amma says that your relationship partner should be like your best friend. And she says it's because she knows how people treat their friends, and she knows how people treat their partners. And they're not the same thing. So this is very important, and this is how Mercury and Venus really track next to each other. Instead, what we tend to do in our partnerships, in our romantic partnerships, is we project a lot of our negative ideas, and we're wanting to get something from them. We're trying to get something from them rather than understand them and understand ourselves and look at how maybe we were wrong about something, and we're genuinely curious about what a misunderstanding was. We project that misunderstanding onto them. And again, it's not just romantic partnerships. So Mercury is very important in this dynamic. Even as it says on this card here, every person you know has you in common. Every partner, friend, every agreement that you make, you're the one making it. So again, what are those common themes that you have with all of your agreements? So again, that's what that Venus reading is about. It's not just about romantic partnerships, because many times we're not in romantic partnerships, but we're still making agreements. And how fair is the agreement? And by the way, when you can see romantic partnerships and all situations like that as just another agreement, again, that's good. It's not saying, well, but they're so much better. Well, that sounds kind of cold. No, again, we can love everyone, and we're trying to love everyone. But all agreements work because of our capacity to make the agreement. And people that make good, business agreements will often make good romantic agreements as well, because it's the same function in you that's doing it, right? So again, right now with this Mercury going forward, or no longer going backward, it's a time to move forward in all of these interpretations. And so again, when Mercury was moving backward, you may have noticed here in the last couple months or so, you've been reflecting on a lot of these things. You've been reflecting on a lot of these things about, like, how am I perceived in my partnerships? What am I doing? Am I accurate? Am I correct? Am I flexible? Am I able to just relax and have fun? One thing about all of our agreements, again, friendships, romantic partnerships, or deep entanglements, is, a sense of humor goes a long way. Not taking ourselves so seriously, not projecting the whole weight of the universe onto another person. And by the way, this is what typically can make romantic partnerships go wrong, is the person becomes this symbol of all of our childhood pain and all of this, and like we bring all this stuff. I mean, we got to learn to just relax a little bit, and people are going to make mistakes. How do you handle it? Do you guilt trip them into oblivion, or do you're like, okay, look, I make mistakes too. It's no big deal. And again, that chill is very much Mercury. And again, think of how you act toward your friends when they make a mistake, and your partners are those who you've invested in, right? And how different it is, how much pressure we put. And by the way, that includes family members and everyone. It's not just romantic partnerships, but again, notice the different levels of tolerance and flexibility and humor that we bring. And so again, imagine if we brought that same amount of lightness and friendship and tolerance and openness to all of our connections, to those family members who we'll never get along with or whatever. What if, again, now, those people wouldn't maybe be our friends in other situations. And it doesn't mean that we have to have relationships with them like that. But I'm just saying, as a principle, this is what Mercury's about. It's getting that story in your head clear. So when he goes retrograde, we're analyzing that story in our head and what type of meaning and explanation we're deriving from the things that are happening. And again, that's what refers to that state of comprehension. Do we comprehend what's really going on, which is that we're involved in pretty much everything that we're doing, right? We're intimately involved in every situation that we're participating in, particularly with other people. Are we handling that gracefully, or are we just falling back on the same triggers and things like that. So I hope this was helpful. And as Mercury moves forward again, that's sort of, as it said, I forgot to read the cards here, mystical thought meets clear language. That's a good way to put it too. These Pisces mystical ideas that we've been reflecting on now can meet more clarity, more clear language, more clear-headedness as Mercury starts moving forward. And it says, decode dreams, speak with purpose. It's another good one. I forgot to read the things on my own card. It's my Mercury, right? Mercury, Pisces. Even though my Mercury's pretty together, in Pisces, I'm like, okay, let me just let her rip. That's what I do. I let her rip. So, but yes, decode dreams. Mercury and Pisces. We could be in a kind of fantasy world, like oh, I don't really know what anything means. It's all just kind of all these confusing stories. Now we can maybe decode these dreams or these sort of mystical ideas and speak with more clarity and purpose. So that's always what we're trying to do with Mercury. And so I hope this was helpful. And again, I hope if it's interesting for you to get this relationship assessment, 30 minutes, I can go and look over your moon, Venus, 7th house ruler, your 7th house, and other things that show how you interact with people. Again, now with Mercury moving forward, it's a great time for you to get some of this new information if that suits you. Every person that you have a relationship has one thing in common: you. If you want to really understand your connections and your relationships and your agreements that you make with others, the first place to start is Venus. And right now in April 2025, with Venus in Pisces in its exalted sign, but also joined Rahu, the North Node, and Saturn and Mercury, also in an exchange with Jupiter, this Venus energy is very active right now. And I'm sure you've noticed how you're reevaluating the agreements that you make, how you might give up too much ground in the agreement and then have to fight to try to get it back and then feel very unbalanced and whatnot. I am offering, and I have been offering for years, relationship assessments where I start with Venus, and then I also look at your 7th house ruler. I'll look at your current relationship or a relationship that you want me to discuss, and I'll evaluate these things, and especially your place in the partnerships. Because like I say, all relationships have you as a common denominator, and most of the time people overlook this part: your capacities, your projections, your illusions, and how to really understand those things, and also the type of partnerships that you have. And if you want me to look at a specific one, I'll do that as well. But there's never been a better time than right now with Venus exalted, but feeling this kind of pressure to get that type of look. So if you want to do that, I do have a discount on these readings right now. So check it out, and I hope to help you with this very soon. For a limited time, I'm offering 10 hours of masterclasses, Yoga and Vedic Astrology, Quantum Vedic Astrology, and Spiritual Astrology Masterclass. These are 3 great courses that will really help you a lot. Now, in case you don't know who I am, I taught the Astroved certification course, Dattatreya Shiva Baba, in 2010. Ravi Shankar published my book in 2018. I've been around for decades. I've been teaching these great classes, and if you go to VedicAstrologyEssentials.com, you can get this 90% off discount of these 3 great classes, more than 10 hours, guaranteed value. You can check this out. These 3 classes will give you all the necessary tools to begin to learn Vedic astrology. Please find me on YouTube at Sam Jeppy, Vedic Astrology Teacher. On there since 2007, thousands of hours of classes. Also on Facebook at Astrology Teacher, tons of articles updated regularly, and I'm on Instagram at Vedic Astrology 108, ongoing updates and interaction.